Hi, and very welcome to this final Fireside chat. My name is Regina Summer, and I'm the Director for Strategic Partnerships and Policy at SISP, the Swedish Incubators and Science Parks. This Fireside chat will focus on impact innovation, but we have talked a lot about impact innovation during these days. The initiative that was started by the three government agencies, Vinnova, Formas, and the Swedish Energy Agency. What is important here is also to talk about everything else that's going on, all other innovation initiatives that are going on and that are super necessary and needed to create the impact that is needed to change the societies that we live in. With me in the studio today, I have the honor to have the Director Generals from the three agencies. So I have Johan Kuylenstierna from Formas, I have Darja Isaksson from Vinnova, and I have Andrén from the Swedish Energy Agency. Welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you for making Sweden Innovation Days 2023 happen. Amazing. And I want to say thank you, not just for all the Swedish actors that have been participating in this and enjoying the event, but also to all innovation actors around the globe. Because we know that more than 4,000 people have joined us from 100 countries. And this is amazing. So thank you all for joining, and thank you guys for making this happen. The first day, we focused on government and government agencies and the industry as important enablers for others to innovate. And this will be my first question to you. What are your reflections on that as enablers? You want to start, Johan?
Well, the fact that you're mentioning a lot of different actors, the fact that we need to collaborate, the fact that no one can do this alone, being an enabler, that's one of our roles. Enablers are also important in industry, in academia. So it's not just the role of government agencies, for instance, but we are playing an important role because we can have a mandate to connect different actors. We also have a very strong mandate, of course, from the policy side, from the political side. So our role of enabling is not just about money, but it's also about driving changes in the entire system, in the public system, that also then can complement all the different actions and all different investments that we see in the private sector. So I think that is a critical role for us to be enablers. And finally, enabling means also collaboration, and that's why we are three agencies sitting here together. We cannot do this alone. We get much more impact by being three doing this together.
Absolutely. Darja, any reflections?
I agree completely, and I would say one way to think about it, this is the transformation that we've already begun. It's not the first transformation of society. It's just the most existential one, and one that needs to happen in a very short time. And I think that's where, I would second what Johan just said, actually all the different parts of society, government agencies, but industry, startup scale-ups, academia not least, need to think of themselves as active enablers of this transformation, because that's essentially what it takes.
Mm. Yes, Robert.
Well, well, the bigger picture has been said eloquently by my colleagues here, but I think that what I've experienced during these intense days is the commitment, the engagement, with several thousand viewers and all our colleagues at our agencies, the work they put down in this, you as well, and others, to make this happen. And that's fantastic, because that's what we need as a foundation for the coming work in the impact innovation, but in all other parts of the innovative system, is the commitment, the engagement, the belief, and the courage to actually think that we can change the world.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. I would also like to invite the participants watching to share your reflections in the chat. Share your experiences from these days, and also what you think about being yourself an enabler, or seeing other enablers that make the changes that are needed. How do you think that your agency contributes Robert, start with you.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Well, I think we contribute in many ways, of course, and I think that what we are doing and trying to do is to be a leader, a guide when it comes to find good ways, smart ways forward, to find capital, to find networks, to find new partnerships. That's one thing. The other thing is that we are try also to be sharing the risks in the early stages of the innovation chain, so to speak, with small innovators that are trying to realize their ideas and smart solutions. So that's a very important part that we are playing. We're also active throughout the whole innovation chain, from basic research to scale to commercialization and marketing ways of getting innovations out there, and also export promotion to find new markets.
Yeah.
So the global effect of a green innovation is multiplied in many ways. So I think that we are doing a lot of things that are facilitating for startups and scale-ups and others in the system.
And you really, the Energy Agency is really one of the agencies that work the full TRL scale, as you're mentioning. That's quite cool. Darja.
Yeah, but as the Swedish Innovation Agency, our mandate is quite broad. I'd like to say that basically we say our mission is to open up for the innovations that make a difference. So in terms of identifying the opportunities, where are the most important opportunities, mobilizing those who are ambitious and who have what it takes to make that difference, and then de-risk them in different ways. So I think that's something we also share a mandate in, being able to provide those opportunities. And Sweden Innovation Days is one of our flagship events for that, just really trying to connect those with the knowledge about needs in industry, in society, with the ones with the constructive and creative ideas, and then creating opportunities for them both to meet and then de-risk some of the opportunities for them to try out new things together.
Yeah. How does Formas contribute?
Well, I mean, it's going back also to what both Robert and Darja is saying. We have our mandate. I mean, the mandate is given by the government, so we have to carry out that mandate. And we have different mandates, partly, but they complement each other very well. And that's why, again, we are sitting here, the three of us. If you take Formas, what is interesting from our dimension is that we have a mandate both to fund basic research, excellent research excellence, you can say, through our open calls, mission-driven research, but also since 2017, innovation. And by doing that, we have different tools. And what we try to do is to connect between mission or basic research with the mission research, which is formulated through national research program, long-term research program. And that's essential. Just like innovation, it's a long process. Research is also a long process. So having long-term research programs as a foundation for innovation and our innovation mandate. So that is what we try to do at Formas, connecting these three levels, because that's really what drives transformative change and innovation. Then, of course, we also have specific mandate to look at societal development, but also the green sectors. And I would like to stress that, and maybe come back to that a little bit later, the whole issue of the green sector, the food sector, the forestry sector, they are particularly challenging areas, also in terms of innovation. And I think that is very critical, that just like the energy sector has its focus in the Energy Agency, we also have a strong focus in our, at Formas, on these sectors, the green sectors, agriculture and forestry. So that's how we try to contribute also to this whole mandate.
Yeah. And you have different mandates, of course. You have three different government agencies, and how do you complement each other? You can start.
Yeah, I think that Johan and Darja have said it and spoken about it. That we have overlapping mandates, of course, and today society is so interlinked. You can't talk about food production without talking about energy,
Exactly,
or environmental issues in other aspects, and so I think that what complements us is the fact that we are sharing the same ambition and will to act and to make a change for a sustainable development. And that is what we are building on now. And that is quite a strong foundation. You have three government agencies with quite a lot of tools that you can, and if you pool them, that we are doing at the moment, I think that, I think that we can actually move mountains in a way, both nationally and globally, if we connect with the right actors. We have a network. Each of our agencies have a huge network, and we put these networks together. You have, it's fantastically, you can create new partnerships, new nodes that we need, that is cross-boundary in a way. So I think that, and then lastly, from my side on this point, is that I think that we've heard during the day that the bureaucracy that is kind of slowing down the innovation system and putting innovations on the market and scale them up. I think that here we have a particularly important role as government agencies to look at the regulations. How do they hamper innovation? How can we speed up and reward frontrunners that are having innovative solutions? And there we have many eyes that could do it together.
Can I add one thing?
Absolutely.
I mean, to all our international friends as well. I mean, Sweden is basically a rather small country. We're 10 million people. Within ourselves, I would say we have really good connections into the entire innovation ecosystem in Sweden. But regardless, if you are from outside of Sweden, regardless if you contact the Energy Agency or Vinnova or us or our incubators, or for that part, Business Sweden, that I'm also very grateful for the collaboration in terms of these days, not the least. You can just expect us to work together to support you. So I think that's the main message for anyone outside of Sweden. It doesn't really matter if you contact Energy Agency, Vinnova, or Formas, because we will work together to help you out.
Yeah.
Not really, no, not so much to add. I mean, again, we do complement each other because we have slightly different mandates. We have amazing organizations with a lot of competences in all our colleagues. They work well together and they complement each other at that level where the work is really happening, isn't it? But of course, you know, we have a responsibility also to use the resources we have the most efficient way. We could have 3 innovation programs. We could have one on energy. We could have one covering, you know, quite broadly, of course, innovation because you have that mandate. We can have one looking only at the green sectors. But that would be, you know, small programs. It would be a sub-optimization of the resources we have. And just like Robert is saying, topics are connected. So we complement each other also by having the different mandates, but also having the responsibility to connect them, because that's how the world operates. That's what we are asking all these actors to do out there now in impact innovation. Exactly that. So we have to really do what we are asking others to do.
Yeah. And I totally agree. Of course, you have your different mandates. But I must say, you're a bit too humble here. Because this fantastic collaboration, no one has given you the mandate that you need to have this great collaboration. I mean, you are the 3 musketeers here when it comes to impact innovation. It's fantastic. And we really, I think that the system also sees the great collaboration that you 3 have and what you're pushing forward. So yes, you have a mandate, but it's also a question about leadership.
But it's leadership from to be honest here. I started 6 months ago. I came in with a clean plate. I mean, you know, clean slate. I didn't know what kind of collaboration we had. I would argue that it's also a lot bottom up. It's actually our colleagues who already work together. They expect us to be able to support them in what they have been working on for, you know, years. So it's not just the leadership top down. I would like to stress that. It's also a leadership bottom up.
No. And I think I had my super Swedish glasses on when I said that, because I know the top-down thing, it's not really the Swedish way to do things. So, no. But talking about leadership, on the first day, we also raised the importance of the inner development goals. What is needed on an individual level to contribute? And here again, back to leadership. How do you think that you, as innovation leaders in Sweden, enable for others to innovate and drive the needed changes? Darja.
Well, I mean, now you mentioned the inner development goals. Actually, I think that's an excellent framework for anyone, because as the the inner development goals are about what kind of skills do we need as individuals, as leaders, and as well as organizations in terms of being able to collaborate and push this kind of transformation. We are living in a world of major complex challenges, huge uncertainties. So creating a way of framing what it means, and that's what this framework does, in terms of what does it mean in terms of myself, my being, my self-knowledge, my self-leadership, what does it mean in terms of critical thinking skills, in terms of knowledge about problems, what does it mean in terms of how to, what tools do we need to be able to collaborate even more efficiently, create trust, find a mutual language in short time, create cross-disciplinary work. So I'll just say that I really appreciate the framework of the inner development goals, and I think that we can, those are all skills that we need to quite quickly strengthen in society and in ourselves. So yeah.
Thank you for that answer, but I want to come back to the you. You as a leader, and I will. The other one, you can prepare yourselves.
No.
You, Darja Isaksson. I mean,
no, but it's trying. It's just trying every day to kind of walk the talk. So that has to do with I ask me in a couple of years, but being able to help others frame a vision. Inspire to dare to take action. How do I lead in a way that creates the courage to make mistakes, not seeing them as failure, but actually as learning opportunities, both at my individual level, others' individual level, in the organization. Do I have the capability as a leader to acknowledge what kind of new ways of working will be needed for me, for others? There's like, it means a lot of things. And to be honest, I mean, that's always the challenge. Like, am I doing it? Just being open to feedback. So I'm super grateful, and I just had those experiences today. Like having the conversation every day as well. Like, what can I do for you, in a sense, that will help improve this? But that's trying to walk the talk every day. But obviously, no one's perfect. So that's also an opportunity for learning every day.
Humble again, but okay, I buy it. Johan.
Oh, yeah, I mean, yes, of course I would echo what you say. It's interesting, the whole issue of soft skills in terms of the transition is actually becoming more and more important. The reason being, as a natural scientist, we are realizing that the sort of mind shift changes, the shifts in society, the pushback that we also see in terms of the transition in many cases, that's linked to soft skills. It's linked to mindsets. It's linked to completely different, I would say, academic areas than quite often is what is, natural sciences, social sciences, behavioral sciences, psychology, etc., etc. From my own perspective, it is about trying to be open that I quite often is wrong. If I just talk to others, I have my ideas, this is how you should do things, this is the right way forward. Listening to others and realize that you can really look at problems in very different ways, and the background you have, the experiences you have, forms you and turns you into your box, how you see things. Trying to be open that we have to probably see things in a very different way, and that goes as much as for the society, but also as for me as a person, no doubt.
Darja wants to challenge.
Yeah, because I love that. And there's like also at the like a practical tool in every day. One of the signals from me to me when it's like, am I curious? If I listen to somebody and I notice that I'm not curious at all, I'm kind of thinking, dismissing. That's actually a signal to myself. Like, where did I lose the curiosity? How is this challenging me? And then try to get back into curiosity mode, because sometimes that's where I can learn the most. But the other thing is not letting that stop action. It's just like continuously daring still to, lacking information for sure. Let's, keeping the vision, moving in that direction, and then make decisions and adjust when you learn something new. And I think that also comes back to one of the most important modes that, talk to any startup about what it takes to find your product market fit and what it takes to, how, you need to pivot. That's especially. So I think that's one of the most important criteria in terms of leadership, just keep the open mindset, be curious, but act and then adjust.
Yes. Robert.
Oh, I lead by commitment and engagement, I promise you. Curiosity as well. No, but seriously, commitment, engagement, to not have the boundaries of not collaborating with others because you have your mandate or you have your agency, you have your turf. We need to cross borders. We need to be able to collaborate with other unlikely actors and strike up unthought of partnerships in a way. But I think that you've said it's the same thing as I'm thinking about, but Churchill said it even more eloquently. He said, success is not final, failure is not fatal, it's the courage to continue that counts. And I think it's all about that in a way. So he said it better than I can, so I stop there.
Thanks for the quote.
Thank you very much. You are, you're typical Swedish humble, but you are great leaders. I know there are so many people that respect you in your organizations and outside of your organization. So please just remember that, because I admire you all. What are your reflections from Sweden Innovation Days 2023 and this Let's Enable Innovation That Makes a Difference? These 3 days packed with actors from our system.
Well, one thing that resonates a lot with me, and that actually ties back to what we were just talking about and that Robert mentioned, is that even competitors are and need to collaborate. And I think it requires this kind of mindset. When it comes to the key challenges that we're facing today, we need to really think that our joint task is to grow the market and opportunities for the new solutions we need. This is not, the zero-sum game is failing. And that's going to be, terrible for everyone. The opportunity is to really push and accelerate this transformation. And that's why it's so encouraging to see the very concrete examples of competitors collaborating to push the needle that we've seen during Sweden Innovation Days. And now that, I think, is a strong signal to everyone. And that comes back to what Robert said about not looking for the boundary and this is where I stop, but rather like how having the impact mode. Like, it doesn't mean everybody's going to do everything, but it means like focusing on what collaborations can make an impact, regardless of how unexpected they may seem at first.
Because what we are doing actually, as the way I see it, is that we are facing a huge global crisis when it comes to climate change. And then boundaries between people or companies or nations, whatever, will not matter at all. Because we need to come together in order to be able to deal with those, the effects of the climate change. And as much as I don't want to bring up the horrible and unjust war that's going on in Ukraine, I think the people there at the moment, they don't care about boundaries or if you represent that or that. They have to do it together. It's a question of survival. And it's a bit dramatic, but that's the foundation, or at least the scenario we're facing at the moment with from the scientific world is that it will be a dramatic, huge problem, massive problem, long term that we are facing. And then boundaries doesn't matter, so we can bring them down already and start working instead together to avoid that. That's the way I see it. And I think that's why we should instead try to reap the opportunities of coming together early on instead of late on.
Darja.
Yeah, but you asked actually about the days, but yes, and that's the point also in terms of, I mean, obviously geopolitical tensions are growing. It's going to be really difficult. And then coming back to kind of the leadership it takes to see it, but not let that stop the collaborations that have real potential to make a difference, and really try to promote and remember that these are global challenges. So yeah, I would agree. And the other reason for doing that, and this is actually an industry representative who put this well, so I don't remember who I'm quoting, but I know I'm quoting, so, saying, okay, in terms of the climate crisis, we're going to pay. And we're already beginning to pay. So let's just try to make that cost an investment upfront that we can benefit from. So I think that's another reason. But in terms of the days, it's been really amazing to see concrete examples of that mindset, of that looking for opportunities for collaboration, and even with competitors.
And if I mean, maybe add three things from the days that I mean, there have been a lot of things, of course, going on. You said yourself, thousands of people from all different sectors. One thing that I think is important is breaking down the ivory tower of innovation. We talk about it in academia a lot. There's an ivory tower. It's sort of disconnected. Innovation can also be scary. Who are innovators? There are, what kind of people are innovators? They're special kind of people. They're over there. They are the, really smart guys. That's innovators. We don't understand what they're talking about. It's difficult. It's not accessible. I think days like these are very important because you bring together a lot of actors, not those that are sort of the key, innovators up there, but also all others who are, dependent upon innovation, but also showing that innovation is everywhere. It's not just these technical things. It's also innovation in mindset, innovation in structures, innovations in systems. Downplaying, de-dramatizing the word in itself, I think, is actually very important to make it inclusive, to people feel that, we are part of this agenda. Because that's the problem with sustainability. It has also partly been an elite project. And now we are starting to sort of feel that, it has to be a societal thing. Another personal thing that I find fascinating, I'm not a very technical guy, but the whole issue of AI, how that comes in, and I understand some speakers even talk about it as revolutionary, of course, as the internet was once, completely changing the conditions of what we can do. And I think this goes back to the idea of impact innovation and the flexibility we're building into that. The fact that we don't know what will happen in 3, 4, 5 years. So we have to be, because of the new technologies like AI, we have to be extremely open what we can do 2, 3, 4 years from now. And I think that is absolutely critical. And for me, that is a learning, to be honest. How do I apply this in our mandate, in our sectors that we are focusing on in urban development, rural development, the green sectors? And then the final thing, which I think is excellent, I know the green sectors have also been part of this program. For instance, blue food. New ways of looking at natural resources, new ways of looking at agriculture, forestry, and of course also the marine sectors, what they can provide in terms of solutions, but how we have to think them in a systems perspective. Yes, they can provide energy, they can provide food, they can provide jobs, all these kinds of things. And that has been excellent, the systems approach that innovation also drives. So these are three things.
And if you're not the tech, at least before I had this role, I used to be kind of a tech person. But then I want to tell you about, the opportunities that tech provides for really sustainable forestry in a way that we could not have. But then I need to take the other perspective. I'm also reminded of, if you're looking at these technologies that are exponential, if we're looking at the leaps that quantum can enable it's very, very valuable opportunities, and it gives some hope that we can see some exponential change driven by these new opportunities. But then I would also like to resonate from the other side. I don't come from the green sector, but knowing, for instance, how much innovation and important solutions there are in nature-based solutions is another. So again, like this, helping each other out in seeing the broad spectrum also of the opportunities for solutions that can make a major difference. Yeah. They're going to also be nature-based.
And actually, during Sweden Innovation Days 2022, we were talking about that we need to innovate how we innovate, and we need to innovate in the absolutely broadest sense, inviting regulatory perspective, the policy perspective, but also culture perspective and behavior. So yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think it's super interesting to hear you. But what do you hope to achieve with Sweden Innovation Days? What are your expectations of these 3 days?
These days give us a lot of things. First of all, I hope that it inspires, that it creates engagement, but more concretely, opportunities. So my main expectation of these days, and that's why I'm blown away by the engagement we've seen, but also the fact that there have been close to 400 matchmaking meetings here So that's my main and also my ask to the audience, like how can we evolve this event to create even more qualitative and better opportunities for you to find the collaborations that will help you make a difference.
Can I add something to that? Because actually my colleagues that work at Ignite Sweden that are responsible for the matchmaking, today they reached 6,000 matchmakings. And that is just amazing. So deliberate. A shout out to my colleagues that are down in Lund arranging matchmaking with 10 countries at the same time. So enough, no more promotion here. But
Yeah, but thank you.
please, Robert,
No, the same.
expectations.
Expectations. I think that, well, the expectations, if I can look at you all that are out there looking at this, it's about acting, getting together, partner up, think bold, think and act outside the box. And then please contact us, any of our agencies, and we will be a very good gateway into the Swedish innovation ecosystem in many ways. I think that be willing to pair up with both familiar faces, but also with newcomers knocking on the door. Strange ideas and perhaps strange faces. Team up, give it a shot, and just do it. I think
How hard can it be, right?
no,
How hard can
sometimes
it
it's
be?
easier than difficult.
Exactly.
But we have a lot of stumble bricks that we need to deal with, and I think that we will are willing to do our share to try to minimize them in a way. And just a final word is that I would say also represent a lot of our colleagues behind us that are not here at the moment, that are not having innovation at the core business as we have. But we are teaming up with them, the other agencies, the Environmental Protection Agency, the Growth Agency, the Transport Board, and they are with us in a way, but they are not here in the room at the moment. So don't forget that. That's an important thing. We are a quite strong government agency team.
That's very good. That's very good.
And I mean, finally, from just to add, I'm classified quite often as an optimist when it comes to the whole climate debate and so on, because I think that we can actually manage the challenges we have. So, you know, you quoted Churchill. I quote another president. Yes, we can. And for me, this is extremely important because when I'm out talking about this optimism that I feel, I don't know if I can actually lean back and say, yes, we can. But these kind of days, you know, Sweden Innovation Day, that demonstrates, yes, we can. I mean, there are thousands and thousands of people out there who really are building tomorrow's society, who really are working to solve the challenges we have, regardless if we talk about climate change or any other area, the energy crisis, the food crisis, whatever it might be. And I think that is extremely important. So for me, opportunity is one thing. The other word I would like to really put in here that we need today, unfortunately again, is the word hope. And a conference like this gives me hope. In a world that right now is dominated by a discussion that really does not send out a lot of hope, that is dominated by completely different agendas. So I think that, it's more, one thing is important in terms of all the matchmaking and technical, whatever it might be, but don't forget also the narrative of a conference like this. The narrative is, yes, we can.
That reminds me of the first day, because both listening to our minister and the speech, and I think Aurora with her initial remarks, yes, the challenges are enormous. Of course, that's going to make you think and feel a lot of things, but choosing to see them in order to act, I think optimism can also be a conscious choice, and that's where we need to put our energy. So, yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Absolutely. A final question, and you were mentioning, there's a lot of things you also talking about, Robert, of course, and Darja, that there's a lot of things going on in the world right now that are really, really bad. So if you look at, for Sweden Innovation Days 2024, what would you guess that we need to focus on in a year's time? And also, this is something for everyone participating here. Please share in the chat. Darja, start.
Oh, but I think, what I would like to hope that we can then see that we're acting on, I mean, impact innovation, etc., is that, if I'll just give you a few perspectives, transforming into a sustainable society at the solution level needs to be the same solution that contributes to resilience and the same solution that also strengthens security in our society. These cannot be perspectives that are managed in silos. So one of the things that I'm hoping that we will be able to see next year is that we have strengthened our ability to do just that. Address challenges, yes, with solutions that provide multiple positive outcomes in society. So that's something that I would really look forward to.
Interesting. Robert?
For me, it's also about stock taking. What has happened? And we can't wait until we have an innovation that has gone out and scaled up and used globally or whatever, and have the X amount of million tons carbon dioxide reduced or whatever. We need to stock take as we go along. I think that's very important. So how many new partnerships do we see? How many new constellations out there? How many innovations are on the way? How many of they can and how much can they contribute with to reduce emissions? To have some kind of, stock taking of what has happened, and take for 1 year's view and 5 years view and 10 years view, whatever. That's one thing. And then I think that it's quite important to address a bit more focused what I believe Johan was also alluring to in a way. It is the social and behavioral aspects of innovation. Because if we don't get people to accept new solutions, or if they are not willing to change, that means that the transition is starting to itch on their real life, and they will be hesitant. I think that then we will have a very difficult time in accelerating, and that is what we need, accelerating the green transition. So I think that is a focus we should look at. What are the innovative solutions and innovative work we're doing on the social behavioral level in society?
And how we improved our ability to do that in an inclusive way.
Yeah.
That's Johan.
Well, you can see how we have been sitting together on panels. I had 3 things. Darja took one of them, this whole issue of multiple benefits, really how we can see it from a more systems approach. And then I was also thinking about the social dimensions, how we make sure that this actually is something that people feel generates benefits for them and society at large. So maybe just add a third part. I'm a geographer. I like the spatial dimensions. There's a lot of innovation going on with a spatial dimension. We have the biosphere programs, etc. I mean, these kind of programs. That I think would be interesting to take as an approach. Northern Sweden, if we talk Sweden now, as an example, what kind of innovation do we need to address a system with that kind of spatial dimension? I know that sounds maybe a bit difficult to explain it's difficult to explain maybe in 20 seconds or so, but that I think is something that would be interesting, because that would connect actors at different scales, but also between different sectors and from different disciplines, and to address exactly that kind of spatial dimension. And Northern Sweden, we look at it as a very positive development right now, but there are a lot of challenges associated with that. But you also have other regions in Europe or in the US and elsewhere, for instance, where you're moving out from fossil fuels, where there are a lot of social challenges in Poland, in Southeastern Europe. How do we address those transformations through innovation? That I think would be an interesting twist.
Okay, I'm taking notes in my mind. Any final comment?
I'd like to thank all my colleagues at the Swedish Energy Agency and at the other agencies for the enormous effort they have put into this, and all you and Aurora and the others that have been here making these days intense, fruitful. So that's my final comment. A big thank you so much.
Yeah, that's for me also. Thank you, Regina, and thank everybody who are engaging in these innovation days, because basically whatever happens on stage, the real thing is what happens between everyone who has been participating and engaging, and Yeah, thanks.
And what can I add? I also, thanks to everyone, and not least also those that I know deal with all the technologies in here. Because if that doesn't work at the end, people get irritated. They get irritated and they leave and whatever they do. So this is a good example. You need everyone to really pull together a perfect program, and I think that's what you've done.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much. And as you probably guessed, there's a huge team behind Sweden Innovation Days. It's always a bit sentimental when we in the final minutes, because in a sense, I don't want it to end, and then at the same time, I want it to end because I'm exhausted. But thank you to all that have been part of this. This are 3 amazing government agencies, and there are several other organizations that also have been part of it. AI Sweden, the SISP team, Ignite, of course, and Business Sweden, that also have been a very important part of this team. So thank you for participating. And to you that have participating during these 3 days, I do not hope to see you during Sweden Innovation Days 2024. I really am expecting that we will meet each other much, much earlier, and then we can catch up on SID 2024. Thank you so much for joining us.